Hi everybody, welcome to the Manifold channel. Today we're going to look at the speed with which parallel technology allows Manifold to display even very large files very quickly. I'm going to open a project that's a 1 gigabyte project. It's called this aushydro.map. I'm going to click File, Open. And there it's open. And I'm going to double click on the map to open the map. And that's how quickly Manifold can open a map with a display that has 1.4 million objects in it. What we're looking at here is a fairly famous data set. We're looking at all the water features that are in Australia, and this is all of them. That's the ones that are dry most of the year, it's the ones that are wet part of the year, and it's in 3 layers. There's a watercourse lines layer, which gives you water features as lines. I'll turn off the other 2 layers. That's it right there. There's a watercourse areas feature. I'm going to right-click on that to zoom in, to zoom to fit, and we can see what the watercourse areas are like. And then there's a lakes layer, which I'm going to turn that off and zoom into some of the bigger lakes here. And there's a lakes layer, which are lakes as areas. I said this was a famous data set because a couple years ago it got a lot of traction on Reddit. Some guy did a series of maps which he published, which became famous even outside of Reddit. And why? Because they showed the incredible detail of all the water features in Australia as if it was some kind of nervous system. So you'd have even the New York Times and other non-GIS media writing about it. And what was interesting about that is how he was saying that the hardest thing about creating all those maps was that the GIS package that he was using kept crashing and it was too slow. So it was extremely difficult for him to work with 1.4 million objects like this, many of which are very complex objects, like all those incredibly complicated lines, without his GIS package constantly crashing and constantly being too slow. As you can see, Manifold doesn't have that problem. I won't say what that other package is out of charity, but it's a public domain one. It's an open source package that's a quite popular one. And even though it's very popular, it does crash a lot, and it really is slow, especially with larger data sets. Manifold isn't slow, and one reason it's so fast in what we're doing right now is that we've opened data in a Manifold.map project. .map format is a special parallel format that was created for use with Manifold that allows you to use all cores all the time for display purposes and for analytics and all those other wonderful things that parallel software can do. So it can run very much faster. And even very complicated things, for example, here's a stored location that I set, view an active window. This is a region that's in the southern part of southeastern part of Australia. And right here there's some really complicated water features that are in the desert that are in the watercourse areas layer. And you can see how complicated they are by control clicking on, say, this one to select it. And this is all one feature, that one object. That's a very convoluted area. And it stretches for, I guess, hundreds of miles, hundreds of kilometers, across Australia. So even though this particular layer doesn't have all that many features in it, it's only, I think, a few tens of thousands of them, it's still a very complicated one. Let's choose Edit, select None. Go back to the lines feature. How many lines are there in this layer? There's 1.2, almost 1.3 million lines. In the lakes area, there's about 100,000. So in round numbers, there's about 1.4 million objects here. It's just a huge number of objects, and as you can see, however fast you want it to go, Manifold is perfectly happy to make it go that fast. And even if we undock this window and resized it to stretch it over 6 monitors. We're only looking at a fairly small viewport here. This is only about HD resolution in the video size that YouTube allows. But even if we stretch this window out over the course of 6 monitors, it would be just as fast. Because the cool thing about Manifold parallel technology and Manifold.map format is that it's this fast pretty much however big the display is. So if you're like me and you're used to working with 2 or 3 monitors and you like really big scenes, it's always this fast. So try downloading this data set and opening it up in your favorite GIS and see if you can pan and zoom this fast. There's other things that we can do. I'm going to I'll click on the title bar here to dock this window again. And let's do some fun stuff just to show how fast, really fast, incredibly fast Manifold can be. I'm going to click on this, and then I'm going to choose right-click and choose Copy. And then down here I'll choose Paste. And I've just made a copy of that lines drawing. If I want to open it up in its own window, which I can do, there it is, the same lines drawing. And it's taking its data from the lines table, but because it's a different drawing, it can be styled differently. So for example, we can take this and we can, in the style pane here, we can change the color from that blue color to, let's say, a bright green color. All right, now, why would we want to change it to bright green color? Well, so we can drag it and drop it into the map here. Now we have two different visualizations of the same data set. I'm going to turn the bottom one off. And now we have all those lines in light green. And why want to do that? So that if actually I'll do it here, File, Create, New Favorite Data Source. Let's create a Bing Map satellite layer. And I'm going to drag and drop that into the map. I'll drag and drop that above the watercourse lines area. So the bright green color shows up a lot better against the background than the blue color does. That's with the Bing Map satellite. And if we want, we can also, let's create another new favorite data source. Let's create a Bing Map street map layer. And I'll drag and drop that in over top of the satellite layer. So if you want to see how all this plays on top of the street maps layer there, I think the blue lines look better. So it's that easy to have custom formatting going on at the same time for whatever you like. And even though these are millions of objects and different renditions of millions of objects, it still works the same way and just as accurately. Here's that very complicated feature, by the way. You can see it's a stretch in the desert that's surrounded by relatively green irrigated fields. We're working with Manifold System Release 9 here. If you like, you can do all this stuff in Manifold Viewer. Manifold Viewer is the free edition of Manifold System Release 9. It does everything that 9 does, except that it's read-only. So you can use it to import data from zillions of different formats. You can use it to connect to zillions of different formats. For example, there's a free favorite data source that I saved here earlier. Create new favorite data source, a Postgres database server. You can connect and view all those sorts of things. But with Viewer, you can't actually save stuff. So if you want to create projects like this that you can pop open instantly, you'll have to use Manifold System Release 9 to actually create those projects. But then you can publish them, and for everybody else that just wants to work with those projects, you can have them use the free Viewer. Viewer is absolutely free to download. It doesn't require any registration. There's no adware. It doesn't keep track of you. It doesn't feed your advertising. It doesn't beg for money. It doesn't try to upsell you to constantly remind you that, oh, you should be buying the commercial version. None of that stuff. It's free software in the old-fashioned style. A lot of fun, and you can use it to for all your personnel and other people to whom you just want to have the ability to pop open many gigabytes of maps simultaneously, and to pan and zoom them, and to otherwise interrogate them. So let's Control-Alt-click on this to see what's in the record pane. So if you want to see what what something is in a particular feature, you can Alt-click on it, and that calls up the record pane to see the attributes that are associated with that particular object. Like I say, all this works in Viewer too. So download Viewer, give it a try, have fun with a lot of the downloadable projects that Manifold provides on its website, and try all this by downloading this huge data set, and for using your favorite GIS, and see if it can do all this stuff as fast as Manifold can. Thanks for watching. I hope you've had fun, and goodbye from Manifold Land. Well, that was fun. If you want to see more, visit us at www.manifold.net. As always, Manifold delivers the world's most advanced, highest quality spatial products for GIS and DBMS at a low price that you can afford. Once again, that's manifold.net. See you soon.